Hey guys, welcome to another boss ranking. This time we're gonna go with Bloodborne, which was my first ever Souls game. I died an absolutely astronomical amount of times to most of these bosses, and I'm gonna share with you which one I think is the easiest to hardest. And I'm gonna take into account, my first playthrough, my BL4 run, trying to no damage the bosses, pretty much everything. And with that in mind, my number 22 boss is the Witches of Emwick. So putting the witches at last is not a surprise to anyone. What is really a surprise is that I actually die more times to the witches than I die to Orphan of Cause. I'm not kidding. And this happened because of that one attack that they have in the second phase where they throw a spell at you, and if that spell hits you, you cannot move and they will grab you, and that thing does an insane amount of damage. So to me, that's pretty much the fight. You avoid that attack, you're golden. There's a few enemies on the arena, but if you enter with 0 insight, you don't even have to deal with them. They do not show up. So a boss that is already easy can be made even easier. And that's why I think they deserve the final place. It's really that one attack and nothing else. At number 21, I decided to go with the Celestial Emissary, and one of the biggest reasons why I chose this boss is because you need a certain key to access this boss fight, and you can only get that key at a very late stage into the game. So when you get to this boss, you're probably going to be crazy over level and you're going to be beat him in like 3 or 4 hits. But on the other hand, I was quite surprised when I fought them in BL4, and they pose quite a bit of a challenge because their one-shot potential is insane, especially on second phase. So my overall view of this boss is, on a normal playthrough, they're pretty much the pinwheel of Bloodborne, but on a BL4 run, you should definitely watch out for these little guys. At number 20, I decided to go with Marigo's Wet Nurse, which is one of the final bosses from this game, and I totally understand if people do not agree with this placement, but I don't know, it's such disappointing to me that the final boss of the game can be, just completely destroyed by just simply going behind him and hitting him over and over again. This entire fight only has like one serious problem, which is if she summons the clone. That can be a bit tricky, but as soon as I found out that I could dodge that attack and completely avoid that, this boss was completely nullified. Like, it's literally just go behind him and hit him and you're fine. It's one of the easiest final bosses that fromsoftware has ever done, sadly. At number 19, I decided to go with the Cleric Beast, which was my first ever fromsoftware boss, and oh my god, did he kick my ass big time. 25 deaths to be precise. And what can I say? I mean, I was completely new to fromsoftware. I had no idea how to play the game. I did not know about the limb break mechanics. So yeah, he completely destroyed me. He has a good amount of moves for a first boss. The arena can get tricky, the camera. There's a lot of things in this fight that can go wrong, but once you know how to play the game, it's gonna take close to a miracle for me to ever go back and die to the Cleric Beast, because all you need to do basically is just, to break the limbs one by one, or just go behind his ass and punish him, and you're gonna be fine. This is a very easy boss, but again, as a first experience, I was totally not prepared, so yeah, he completely destroyed me. At number 18, I went with the One Reborn, and Jesus Christ, on my first playthrough, this boss was a mess. I was having ladies throwing fire from above, I was getting kicked, I was getting vomited on, I was having bodies falling from the sky. I mean, what a mess that this boss was, and that resulted in many deaths. On future playthroughs, though, after learning that all you need to do is to break the limbs, things started to, be like really easy, but sometimes things can go wrong. You're just breaking a limb, but you're thinking, okay, it's easy, super easy boss, let's go. And suddenly, the bodies can fall from the sky, and one of the ladies decide to throw the fire at the same time, and boom, all your entire health gone like that, and may result in 1 death. And that's why I put him here. I think, even though it's a crazy easy boss in execution, sometimes the unpredictability of his attacks will result in 1 death that you never saw it coming. At number 17, I decided to go with the Bloodstar Beast, which was by far the hardest boss in the main game for me. Like, I died 60 times and I almost quit the game. I know a lot of people quit the game because of the gas coin, but in my case it was the Bloodstar Beast. Like, this boss has a one-shot grab, this boss has slow poisoning that is not slow at all, This boss has a second phase where she chases you through the entire arena, making it really hard for you to heal or to cure the poison. This boss looks scary as hell, and it also has the most stress-inducing music I've ever heard in my entire life in any video game ever. But with experience, this boss becomes unbelievably easy because, you know, there's this item called Punji Blood Cocktails that you can just throw, and she will go after that, and you can just punish her, and she won't even care. You know, you can just continuously throw those things and just hit on her until she dies. And even if you don't have those items, she's still super easy. Like, you can literally just walk to one of her sides, and every single attack that she does will go over your head, and then you just do a backstab and you can kill her like that. You literally do not have to dodge a single attack. But I decided to put it here because seriously, this boss on your first playthrough can be your worst nightmare, and that's what she was for me. At number 16, I decided to go with Vicar Amelia, and honestly, I think this was the hardest boss to rank in this list because in one hand, you have an insane potential for difficulty on Vicar Amelia. She has a big set of moves, she has fast attacks, delayed attacks, she can heal as many times as she wants, she can cut distances in the blink of an eye. And trust me on this, if you decide to go for crazy challenges on her, you know, like beating her around a blood level 4 character with the +0 weapon, she is crazy hard. But on a normal playthrough, if you know what you're doing, she's out of this world easy. Like, if you have a +4, +5 weapon and you have B-split pallets and fire paper and you just break limb by limb, you're gonna kill her in 20 seconds and she won't even move. Like, you don't even have to dodge anything at all. Like, it's literally limb by limb she falls in 20 seconds. And that's why I think she's so hard to rank, because in one hand she's probably the easiest boss in the entire game, and on the other side she can be absolutely mental on crazy challenges. So I decided to put her here. I honestly did not know very well what to do with Vicar Amelia, so she gets number 16. At number 15, I decided to go with Amygdala, and every single boss remaining on this list, even with 750 hours of experience on Bloodborne, all of the remaining bosses, I still feel that I can die to them. And with Amygdala, the main problem is that this boss is by far the boss with the biggest reach of any other boss in this game, and I wouldn't even be surprised if it's in any From Software boss, to be honest, because the size of this boss, and especially on third phase when she rips her arms out, she pretty much can hit you even if she's on the complete opposite side of the other arena. You never feel safe fighting Amygdala, and besides that, she also does an absolute ton of damage. And because of the, you know, Bloodborne mechanics, where if you're trying to dodge an attack and you miss time it, you get, you know, double the damage. It is very easy to get one shot with Amygdala, and this is a boss that requires for you to take risks. You know, you gotta go for the head. You're not gonna parry this boss, you're not gonna strafe it, you're not gonna go for hitting the legs until she dies. You really gotta go for the head in a way, and I always feel scared to do it because of the one-shot potential and the insane reach that this boss has. I never feel safe fighting Amygdala. At number 14, we have the biggest troll From Software has ever done, Mr. Mikolash. And oh my god, I wish you guys saw my first fight against him, you know, my first successful kill on him, because it took over 20 minutes. I'm not kidding, over 20 minutes until I finally beat him, because you know, in second phase I had no idea what to do, so I was running around him and hitting him one time and then he would disappear, so I would go around the entire arena looking for him again. I would find him, I would hit him once again and he disappeared. My god, like the job of this boss is to drive you mad, and I think Mikolash does a perfect job at that. But anyway, we're here to talk about the difficulty, and it's also kind of hard to talk about the difficulty from Mikolash because I think that not a lot of people know how to fight him, you know, that there's a lot of ways you can kill Mikolash, a lot of ways you can deal with him on first phase and second phase. By example, in first phase, most people will just enter and fight him with the 2 skeletons, but you don't need to do that. If you shoot him, he will get out of the room and you can fight him in the corridor with no skeletons, making it a lot easier for you to deal with him. And on second phase, you have a lot more ways to deal with second phase, like you can throw poison knives and wait for him to die. There's a way to make him glitch on one of the mirrors and he just keeps coming out of the mirror. You hit him once, he comes out again, and you keep doing that, the process, over and over again. There is also the speedrun strategy where you jump from a certain place and you can hit him and he never enters, you know, the final room where you normally fight him. So, and you can also fight him in, you know, with the supposed room where you have to fight him, but that one is probably where things get really tough, you know, because everyone knows about that one attack that he has, the call from beyond. That shit will 100% take your entire health if you dodge it wrong. There's no other way around it. Is definitely one of the scariest attacks to deal in the entire game. And I don't know, man, I really have a soft spot for Mikolash. I think is a really funny boss with some of the coolest lines in the game, and kick-ass soundtrack. I don't know, I just think people hate him too much. But yeah, on a difficult scale, I decided to rank him here at number 14, because it takes a lot of learning to actually understand how this boss works. At number 13, I decided to go with the Moon Presence, and I will completely understand if you do not agree with the placement of this boss on this list. But, you know, it's a personal thing, because this is probably the boss I have the least experience in this game, you know, due to the fact that you need 3 umbilical cords to fight the Moon Presence is something I don't normally do. And just for you to have an idea of how bad I am at this boss fight, I decided to try, you know, to beat all the 17 bosses in the main game without dying once. And for 2 times I got to the Moon Presence, which was the last boss with Deathless, and I died to her twice. So yeah, I don't know, man, it's just the boss I am still bad at. I have no specific strategy, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I normally always die to this boss. So yeah, again, I totally understand if you do not agree with me. At number 12, I decided to go with the Living Failures, and yes, I am aware I've seen a crazy amount of boss rankings out there, and I know that people place them next to the Witches and next to Celestial Emissary, but I honestly could not disagree more. This boss has like over 20,000 HP, that is more than the Orphan of Cos. You have to fight 4 enemies at the same time, where 2 of them pretty much chase you around the entire arena and others throw spells at you at the same time. They do an absolutely crazy ton of damage to you. They will kill you in like 2 hits, and if you decide to fight them on BL4, well, be prepared to be one shot over and over again. I really do not understand. Like, it's more of a meme than anything else, because they look funny and their name is also kind of funny, and yes, because they are indeed the easiest boss in the DLC, but when you compare them to the bosses in the main game, there's no way, I'm sorry, there's no way they deserve to be next to Celestial Emissary or the Witches. Absolutely no way. At number 11, I went with Dark Beast Power, and one of the main reasons why I chose him to be at number 11 is mostly because of my first playthrough. This is the only boss in the game where I actually gave up. Like, I decided that I have to come fight him later, because there was no way I was gonna be able to beat him. Like, seriously, this is a very hard boss to rank, because it really depends on how soon or how late you fight him. If you find him too soon, he's gonna be close to impossible. It's an insanely hard boss. But if you find him very late and you do a lot of damage, then it's another boss that you can just break the legs one by one and finish him in like 20 or 30 seconds. So again, it's a very hard boss to rank, but I cannot forget my first playthrough. It was an absolute nightmare, and like I said, I quit this boss. I had to go back later because I simply could not beat him at the level that I was at the time. And at number 10, I decided to go with German, which in my eyes is the true final boss of Bloodborne. Unlike Moon Presence and Merga's Wet Nurse, he actually poses a challenge, you know. And in a way, it kind of reminds me of Gwyn, you know, because if you decide to parry him, he's on the easiest side, but if you decide not to parry him, you're gonna have quite the challenge. And most of that challenge is gonna come because of his incredible speed. I do not know if he's the fastest boss in the game, because, you know, there's Maria, but he's like crazy fast, and he also can do a few attacks that if you mistime your dodge will definitely be a one-shot, especially that wind attack on second phase. I still don't know how to deal with that very well. And honestly, there's only one thing I would change in this boss. I wish his final phase started earlier, because in his final phase he does not stagger, and I think that would of course increase the challenge. That was the only thing I would change in this fight. German is an amazing final boss, and again, a very balanced and really cool challenge. Number 9, I decided to go with Rom, and I think this is the part in the list where the difficulty starts to ramp up quite a little bit. because ROM will 100% test your patience and your greediness, because you have to kill not 1, not 2, not 5, not 10, not 20, but 30 spiders before you can actually kill ROM, unless you go greedy on ROM and try to hit her, which is a bit of a crazy strategy to pull off, honestly, because the spiders will surround ROM very fast and they will do an insane amount of damage and you can die extremely fast. Besides the spiders, you also have to deal with the meteors from second phase and third phase from ROM, and if you get close to ROM, she will also have additional attacks like AoE explosions. This is a really tough boss. I think this is the part in this list where it's very easy to die to any of these remaining bosses, because they will test your skill, your patience, and with ROM especially your greediness. At number 8 you have Feather Gascoigne, which is the first mandatory boss from Bloodborne. And if you go to PS5 trophy list, you're gonna go crazy, because there's only 44% of people that have managed to beat Feather Gascoigne. That's literally insane. I don't think I need any more proof to tell you that this is a hard boss. I mean, this boss has 3 phases, and in all of the 3 phases he pretty much chases you around the arena, and you know, in the arena you have tombstones, so it's very easy to get stuck, even though there is like a stairs on the side where you can fight him there, but you might not notice. I surely did not notice on my first attempts. And you are definitely not prepared for his third phase, because he will turn into a goddamn werewolf and he will start jumping at you no matter how far he is, and he will destroy every tombstone, chasing you, attacking you at lightning speed to make sure that you are dead. He is the wall on Bloodborne. At number 7 I decided to go with the Shadows of Yharnam, and the first thing I want to talk about is how incredibly hard these bosses are on a challenge run. Like seriously, if you're ever gonna try to do speedruns or a no-hit run on this game, be prepared, because Shadows of Yharnam will absolutely destroy most of your attempts. Like, it's out of this world how incredibly hard they are, especially on a no-hit run. They are so far away from any other boss, it's not even funny. And on my first playthrough they were also very challenging. They killed me many times. I mean, it's not difficult to understand why. You are fighting 3 bosses at the same time. The katana, the guy is very fast. The guy that, you know, blows the fire, it can kill in 1 hit very easily, and the caster is extremely annoying. But you know, the more as you play the game and the more you understand this fight, you realize that, you know, pairing the katana guy is very easy, and you can use also the arena to your advantage. And when there's only 1 shadow left, for some reason I don't know if it's a glitch or something, but you just press R1 and they go to the side, and you keep pressing R1 until they die. But that does not nullify how incredibly hard they are, especially on challenge runs. They are insane, literally insane. At number 6 I decided to go with Lady Maria, but a big reason why I put her at number 6 was definitely because of my run on Blood level 4. As you can see at the bottom, I died a whopping 197 times on this boss on my BL4 run. I really almost quit on my BL4 run because of her. She really felt like she was impossible. On her third phase the hitboxes are just insane and everything is a one-shot. It's literally a nightmare to fight it on Blood level 4, because if it wasn't for that, there's no way I would put her this low. Because, you know, on a normal playthrough, it's not that she's not challenging, you know, but she does stagger a lot and she is very easy to parry. Of course that, you know, in the second phase and third phase things get a little bit harder. She's crazy fast and she does a lot of damage, and again, like I said, she has crazy hitboxes. But most of the difficulty from Lady Maria, for me, it really comes from challenge runs, especially doing a Blood level 4 run. It is something that I do not recommend to anyone. She is a total nightmare to defeat. At number 5 I decided to go with Martyr Logarius, and this is another boss like the Moon Presence that I feel that I still haven't mastered. The difference is that I fought Moon Presence just a few times, but this boss I actually fought him many times, because he was very hard on my normal playthrough and he was very hard on my BL4 run. And so I do have the experience, but I still don't know how to fight this boss in a good way. First phase is not a big problem, but the difference of pace from first phase to second phase is crazy, is absolutely mental, because he will go from a very slow caster to a completely crazy Grim Reaper chasing you around the arena, flying into the air and putting swords on the floor that will go all around the entire arena. And I don't know, it's just, the difference of pace is so big, and I don't know if I should attack, if I should parry, if I should dodge. It's just a very tough fight that every time I beat him, I almost feel like it's a relief more than an actual win, because I feel like I don't know very well what I'm doing because I still have not mastered this boss. At number 4, I decided to go with the Britus, which is to me the hardest boss in the main game, and yeah, I know some people don't agree with this because they will just go behind her and attack her like that, and they will beat her by doing that. But I never fought it like that. I always fight the Britus face to face because I think it's one of the coolest bosses in the game. She looks amazing. I love the arena, I love the soundtrack, and I love her moveset. And fighting her face to face, trust me on this, if you never have and you want a challenge, do it, because she has tons of moves, she does a crazy amount of damage, she has a crazy reach. She has definitely, which is the hardest attack to deal in the entire game. Her charge attack is absolutely bonkers to be able to dodge, like it's crazy. And on second phase, she brings more attacks to the table. She has like the call from beyond also, and she has a second charge that is also very hard to deal with. And if you decide to go on BL4, then good luck, because on BL4 she's out of this world hard. Trust me. If you fought her by going behind her and you got disappointed, just try to fight her face to face on BL4, and I promise you, you're gonna get a crazy challenge. At number 3, I decided to go with Ludwig, and these final 3 bosses, they are leagues harder than any other boss so far. But I decided to put Ludwig as number 3. Like, the difficulty for Ludwig comes definitely from the fact that first phase and second phase could not be more different from one another. So it's basically one boss you're fighting, but it's almost like you're learning 2 bosses because they are so incredibly different, the phases. And on these 2 phases, there are a few attacks that have the one-shot potential. You have the charge from first phase, you have the attack where he goes into the air and then falls on top of you, and on second phase you have the attack where, you know, he uses the Moonlight Sword and hits the floor with a magic beam. Like, those 3 attacks, it's almost guaranteed if you miss dodge them, that your entire health bar is gonna go bye-bye. But I have to admit that on future playthroughs, at least in normal playthroughs, Ludwig, after you learn them really properly with, you know, Beast Blood Pallets and Fire Paper, he does goes down a bit easy on a normal playthrough, but at least on Blood Level 4, Ludwig will always be one of the hardest challenges you can do in this game. And my number 2 is Orphan of Kos, which is most people number 1 in everyone's list, but I beat Orphan of Kos on my 3rd attempt, and that's not the reason why I put him in 2nd place. I will give you the reasons in just a bit, because I know I beat Orphan of Kos on my 3rd attempt because of luck, nothing else. Because, you know, I did a save file before I fought him, I knew about the fame of this boss and how hard he was, and when I went to fight him a 2nd time, I died 50 times. So I knew it was luck, nothing more. So it is, in my eyes, it is possible, it is 100% possible that you beat Orphan of Kos in just a few tries, if you're lucky. You know, it wasn't because I was skilled, I was complete garbage at Bloodborne, so it was 100% luck. Now, about the boss difficulty, yeah, I mean, this boss has a crazy amount of health, he's crazy aggressive, he does a ton of damage like all the bosses in the DLC. And second phase is the stuff of nightmares. Seriously, second phase is probably the hardest thing that this game has to offer. But there is one thing that stops this boss from being the hardest boss in the game, and that is, I mean, it's not just one, it's 2 things. It's parry and backstab, especially backstab. If you're good at these 2 things, you're gonna be able to deal with Orphan. It's gonna take you a lot of time, how to choose your timings correctly, because, you know, the windows for the parries are very small, and the backstabs also. But when you master that, you will master Orphan, and I honestly already beat Orphan just with fists only, which is something I would never do to the number 1 boss, that is Lawrence the First Viker. So as you can see, on the total of deaths that I had on my normal playthrough and my BL4 run, I died 324 times to this boss. Just think about that for a second. I mean, if you fought Lawrence, you know how incredibly annoying the run to this boss is. And just imagine yourself going through that 324 times. I really should receive an award for patience or something like that, because I don't know, man, this was absolute madness. But you know, I wanted to beat every boss in the game in a normal way on a BL4 run, so I tortured myself until I managed to do it. And this is, to me, without a doubt, the hardest boss from software made in Bloodborne. And if I ever do a top 10 boss rankings when it comes to, you know, the hardest bosses they ever made, 100% Lawrence will be there. So what makes this boss so incredibly hard for me? Like lots of things, like of course this is the boss with the more health from the entire game, probably the boss that does more damage than any other boss. I mean, he has so many attacks with one-shot potential, it's absolutely insane. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the boss with more combinations, you know, of variations of attacks in the entire game also. And I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some people never actually saw all of the attacks he has, because really this boss sometimes will completely surprise you with something you have never seen before. And he also has this crazy saying where, like, he has the same attack animation for 4 different attacks. I'm not kidding. Like, he will raise his hand in the air and he will hit the floor without an explosion, and then he will raise the arm again and he'll hit the floor and it will have an explosion this time, and then he will raise the arm again and instead of just hitting 1 time the floor, he will hit 3 times, and then he will raise the arm again and he will fall on top of you and do a swing to the side, and 100% of your health gone just like that. Like, serious, 4 different attacks, the same animation. Like, you never know what this guy is gonna do. And second phase, I mean, it's like literally all over again. It's, you know, it's a completely different boss, you know, a completely new moveset that you have to learn from scratch, and again a bunch of attacks with the one-shot potential. And you know, he even has this one attack on second phase that it has perfect tracking, and that attack, if you mistime it, it's a one-shot. You know, it's literally crazy to have an attack that has perfect tracking, so you're gonna have to dodge it, and if you do not dodge it, it's bye-bye. Yeah. And that is a scary feeling to have in your head, you know. And another thing that is very bad to deal with on this fight is the arena, because it's very small for the size of the boss. You know, it's very easy to get cornered, and then you have camera problems also, and it's very easy to die. And you also have, you know, the AoEs of his with a fire that can give you some crazy hitboxes. Like, everything in this boss is absolute torture. To me, there is absolutely no doubt Lawrence is much harder than Orphan of Cause, and definitely deserves the 1 spot on this list. And yeah, that is the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching. I did this video in just 1 day because I'm gonna go on vacations without a script, and it took a crazy amount of hours, so I do apologize if it's not the best thing out there, but I hope you still got some enjoyment out of it, and I hope I see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Stay well.